Welcome to Whiskey Thieves Distilling Company, the hidden gem of the Bourbon Trail. As you roll onto a 127-acre farm and approach an unassuming old barn, you have no idea what's coming, but what awaits is a bourbon lover's dream. Join me for one of the most immersive and entertaining experiences I've had, a behind-the-scenes tour where guests get to whiskey thieve straight from the barrel and even pour your own cask strength bottle at the end. This isn't your average tour, this is Whiskey Thief. Ready.
Hi, my name is Sierra Henderson. Today we're at Whiskey Thief Distilling Company. I'll be your tour guide today. If you want to follow me right this way. Anytime you have any questions or any comments, just feel free to stop in or whatever. Just feel free to go ahead and ask. Well, with that being said, is it everyone's first time being here at Whiskey Thief today?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Very nice. Well, welcome in. Everything that we do here at Whiskey Thief is all uncut, unfiltered. What that means is that we do everything. We don't add any water, and then we also do not filter down any of the fruit, so it's just going to be all single barrels, and it's just going to celebrate that itself. But getting into more of like our history and that sort of thing, we'll start with that first. We sit on 127 acres here to use this. We consider this Three Boys Farm still. You might have noticed throughout the still house we see Three Boys Farm Distillery as well as Whiskey Thief Distilling Company. That is because back in 2012, our distillery founder's name was Ross. Ross had triplet boys, so he decided to name it Three Boys Farm Distillery. He started out open to the public in 2012, but then we actually received a new owner in 2021 named Walter Zausch. He actually came from Microsoft and Apple. He is a very, very sweet gentleman. He's obsessed with Star Wars, so you'll see some Star Wars themed things all throughout the still house as well. Very, very cool, very neat thing. But Walter kind of wanted to capitalize off of the fact that we do all of the tastings using the Whiskey Thieves. So with that being said, that's why he changed the name to Whiskey Thief Distilling Company. But we still do consider the 127 acres of working farmland here as Three Boys Farm. They use 100 of the acres specifically for all of the cows that you all probably saw on the way in. And then we also have 14 acres of yellow Minnesota 13 corn planted all along the side of the still house as well. Unfortunately, we did not get to use that because our combine ended up breaking, but that's okay. We tried our best. We'll try again next time. With that being said, previously and up until now, we source all of our corn from Louisville, Kentucky. All of our rye comes from Pennsylvania and Michigan, and then all of our malted barley comes from Indiana and Wisconsin. Very, very cool. We're going to go ahead and move on. I just want you guys to have a very good understanding for whenever we go up top and then I start talking about the distillation process. Are you all familiar with heads, tails, and marks? That's okay. That's perfect, actually. Awesome. Alrighty, so getting started, this one is our heads. You can kind of see as I mix it around in here that you're noticing it has some little blue particles inside of there. The blue particles are what are called copper sulfates coming from distilling inside of a copper still. This has a lot of alls in it, like methanols. There's a long list. I only have to know about 3 components inside of here. So I'm going to stick with methanol, acetone, and then the copper sulfates as well. But this is actually what we have to first distill off of our mash. This is actually the first one that made the moonshiners get very, very sick back in the day, and it caused them to actually go blind. So we're not going to drink this today. I do not want to be liable for anything like that. No worries. With that being said,
of it called heads, tails, and hearts.
Really?
That's why I was like.
You're learning a little bit of anatomy today, sir. Alrighty. You can give it a
I'm
smell.
sure we'll do that.
It just smells like acetone. If you don't want to smell it, you don't have to.
Oh yeah. I always hear everybody call it weed killer. They take it home and pour it on their weeds.
It's also great for poison ivy. If you don't have calamine lotion, this will dry it up. You just got to make sure it dries before you don't touch your eyes or anything. You don't want to go blind, seriously. Alrighty. Tails is actually included in the stripping process as well as the spirit process, or I guess distillation. So with that being said, this one was pulled off of the first one. As you can still see, it kind of has the blue tint. So they just pulled this tails off of the stripping run, off of the actual heads run, and then sometimes, like we had one whenever I first started doing tours, and it was completely clear, and then you would just be able to notice all of the oils and the residues in there. I'm going to kind of give it a little tornado so you can see them down in the middle. But It's just very cool. It's just the reason why bourbon tends to linger on your tongue a little bit is all because of your tails. That's why, you know, you'll drink bourbon today and then you'll go to eat a little bit of lunch and then you'll have a little bit of bourbon still on your tongue and be like, man, but you learned something. It's from the tails included in the distillation process. Normally, bourbon usually just holds its flavor as soon as you put it inside a glass. But yes, sir. You'll be able to taste the oils and the residues and those sort of notes on your tongue from the tails. This one is what we refer to as hearts. We're not familiar with it as hearts, but we're probably familiar with it as white dog or white lightning. So with that being said, this is your spirit. This is the whole beauty of bourbon. No, I'm just teasing. Clear liquid gold, though, it starts distilling and it comes off at a proof of as high as 160 proof, which is considered hazmat in the bourbon industry. There is a worldwide bourbon law that says you are not allowed to legally enter bourbon into a barrel at no more than 125 proof. So that is the only part of Whiskey Thief that we still abide by the bourbon laws. So we do add water to it before we're putting it inside of that barrel because we have to make sure that it does not go in at more than 125 so that it can still legally be a bourbon. This one is around 160 proof. I'm not letting us taste it, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna let you guys smell this one as well. This one you can smell a huge difference between the heads and the tails. You get a lot more of corn and moonshine, just a little bit more of that kind of aroma.
It's much pleasant.
Yes, a lot more pleasant,
Yeah.
yes.
It's nice when your bourbon doesn't smell like acetone.
Oh, yeah, right.
This is gonna
Pure
burn.
ethanol.
That's a good burn, absolutely.
Alrighty, this is a stave here just to show you and tell you guys about our barreling cooperage that we use. It's here in Louisville, Kentucky, called Kelvin Cooperage. They go ahead and do a pre-toast on all of our barrels as well as a third, sometimes a fourth char level. And that's where you'll notice a very alligator looking skin texture. As you can see, this one was actually used. And then all these little pieces where you can see that fresh white American oak, that is where it was actually loosened up to help with the actual coloring and the flavor of that barrel of the bourbon itself. But also on top of each stave, you'll notice this big red line that goes all the way through the side of that. That is referred to in the bourbon industry as devil's cut. So with that being said, it's just showing you during the aging process how much of that bourbon actually absorbed into the amount of the American white oak itself. But so far, does anyone have any questions about our history, anything about our grains, our barrels, or the distillates?
I have a question. Is the char level? So I always see like on bourbon barrels, like char level 1, char level 3. How do they define what char level you're at?
Okay, so I'm actually going to save that for the end of the tour, only because back there's a better demonstration to show you.
Perfect.
So we can show you on there, like it has a little thing on that back wall, and it'll show you a fresh piece of American white oak, and then it'll show you them bending it into a stave shape. Then it will show the toast, a first char level, second char level, third char level, fourth char level, and then there's also one back there that is referred to as scoring. And then I can show you all that over there as well, sir. It's just a little bit easier whenever you can actually see it while I'm talking about it. So sorry, but it's all the way back here on the back wall, and we're all the way up here on the front. But yes, remind me, and I promise I'll try not to forget myself.
Anticipation.
Okay, sounds great. Got to keep you on your toes during this tour.
Absolutely.
I don't think he's gonna forget. Hopefully not. No, just teasing. Alrighty. Moving forward, I'm gonna scoot her just a little bit this way. She is a 650-gallon pot column hybrid still. She comes from a company out of Louisville, Kentucky as well called Bindum. Bindum is a company that produces all of the copper stills worldwide, about 95% of them. Yes, sir. Even globally, like even in Germany, all over the place. Something even more impressive about Nadine is she's only one of 5 stills ever made in her exact replica. You look at the very top and you see that horizontal condenser up there, as well as the cylinder right here. This cylinder right here is what is called a product cooler. So on the inside of this little cylinder, there's a coil. So all of the cooling water is going to go into the condenser, as well as down into the product cooler. And then with that being said, it will then go through that without actually being able to ever dilute the bourbon or change the proof and that sort of thing as well. So it's just, yes, yes sir. That's why you get the copper sulfate as well. Yes.
Random question. If I want to buy Nadine for my home distillery, which is illegal to distill at home, right? How much does Nadine cost? Do you have any idea?
I'm honestly not sure. first started here, I was just told me that she was commissioned to us back then. So
Gotcha.
I don't even know if she's paid off by now, guys. I'm not too sure, but I guess I'm sure it's pretty penny.
If she's not paid off, that tells me all I need to know.
I don't even know. That's above me. That's way above me. I have no idea. But you guys don't have.
300,000.
$300,000.
Wow.
I didn't know that. You taught me something.
So,
wow.
got it. So $300,000 plus.
Plus material. That's
It's
not
a-
manufacturing. Sure. Sure.
That is a nice home loan right there.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Do you have any questions about ladies? Alright. Back in 2000.
She's not quite legal on the drink.
Getting there.
But close.
I don't know if she was built in or what. I don't know. Our first is 15 years old, so give or take, yes, she's still too young to drink.
But she's driving.
She's
so-
nice to
Well,
produce,
she
so
doesn't
that's
combine
okay.
the two. She's being
You
trained.
guys want to go ahead and follow me at top and go ahead and finish the tour up here. Oh, thank you guys. Alright, so as you guys are up here, you will notice that we have only one cooker here. Our one and only cooker is Miss Dolly Parton herself. And then surrounding Dolly Parton, we also have 7 fermenters as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you your names, pick of your favorite country artists. If not, no worries either way. This is Merle Haggard. This is Sturgill Simpson. We have Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, Alan Jackson, Waylon Jennings, and then Loretta Lynn as well. Loretta Lynn looks like she just had a cook moved over inside of her. We can actually go take a look if you guys would like.
Is Willie Nelson reserved only for smoky products?
No, he's a fermenter.
Yeah, he is.
Alright. So this one was put in on the 25th, so this one was actually put in yesterday. So as you'll be able to notice, it's going to do this little bubbling thing. That is actually not hot. It's just science. It's just CO2. We don't let people put their hands in it or touch or anything, but it's not hot or anything either, so no safety precautions on that. But we'll get to this in just one second. I just wanted you guys to be able to see it. Know that you can take videos, you can take pictures, look at our mash. Either way, have fun. This is the only one that we have up here right now, and then Nadine actually has a run inside of her finishing up as well, so that is being distilled as we speak as well. So very cool. Go ahead and start with our cooking process first. Whenever we are first loading Dolly up here to start our cooking process, we first start with 800 gallons of RO water. RO water just means reverse osmosis, 100% pure water to start with. We'll increase the temperature up to 200 degrees. Around 200 degrees, you can add in your corn. Then you'll lower it to around 170 degrees to add in your rye, and then lower it down to about 150 degrees to add in your malted barley. Then Dolly here is not working a 9 to 5 at Whiskey Beef. She's actually going to work 10 to 12 hours instead. So she will slow cook herself from 150 degrees all the way down to about 82 degrees only. After she's cooked for about 10 to 12 hours, it will then be time to transfer over into one of our fermenters. That's whenever we pick the lovely Willie behind you. That's whenever we use him. But we will transfer it over into our fermenter. There is an upside down J tube that you just sit and rest on top of there. And then Dolly has a big purple thicker hose that attaches to that J tube. That way it's easily transferable that way. Then what's going to happen is as soon as you transfer the cook into your mash, you then have to start adding in yeast. A lot of people ask if we are a sour mash. We are not sour mash. That's where you reuse the same yeast over and over again. We are sweet mash only, meaning brand new yeast is added every single batch. But with that being said, we will then add in the yeast. Yeast is actually going to start eating at the sugars and the starches, and then it creates carbon dioxide and ethanol, and that's what actually gives you your production of alcohol. We do a fermentation process here where we will actually start that. So this is what it's first started. That's one day where it's looking like it's starting. That's the science. The CO2, the bubbling, that's all of that what we just talked about. Then it's going to sit in there and ferment for about 5 to 7 days. And then after 5 to 7 days, it will then be time to go ahead and start our distillation process. Excuse me. So the way that our distillation process works is we have a wood boiler that is in the very back. So you'll have the wood boiler, load wood into it, has a big long steam pipe attached all the way to the base of Nadine or the pot of Nadine. It will enter in there and I have a big steam jacket around 173 degrees. So it'll enter at 173, then it will start distilling until it reaches the top where that horizontal condenser comes in, and it'll hit temperatures of around 190 degrees. That is why you had to have the cooling system inside of your condenser as well as down into the product cooler. But then with that being said, every single batch that you put inside of there has to stay in there for 2 separate runs. The first run is your stripping run where you want to pull up all of the heads. You don't want anybody getting sick or anything like that. No one going blind, obviously. And then you're going to add in a little bit of your low wines from your heads. Then with that being said, then you'll start your second one, and that's where you get your actual hearts or your spirit, White Dog, White Lightning, Clear Liquid Gold, many names, wonderful product. With that being said, we will do a full fermenter. Will take about 20 to 22 hours completely to distill, but then it will then make us about 3 barrels of bourbon roughly. So once you have a big tote full of enough spirit for 3 barrels, we then take that over into our rick house all the way across the parking lot. Our rick house can house up to 4,400 barrels at a time. Right now we have about 1,700 of our own. We also do contract distilling and contract bottling for other people and companies, that sort of thing as well. And then we also do an aging process of 5 to 8 years here at Whiskey Thief. Within the first year of the aging process, you lose about 10% of the barrel due to angel share, and then every single year so forth about 3 to 5%. I had no idea until I started working here that that's usually why 10-year bourbons are a little more pricey. They only have about 40% of the barrel left in inside of it. Excuse me. So that just makes it a lot more sense to me after working here as well. But with that being said, we will then make sure that it's down to 125 proof. Go ahead and insert it into those barrels, all that good stuff. And then as soon as one of these barrels is getting low or it's empty, we will then bring another barrel fresh out here, pop the bung off of it, taste the proof, put a Whiskey Thief inside of it, same thing. So sorry. No, I'm okay. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I should have brought mine. But with that being said, no, I'm sorry, I'm almost finished, I promise. We also are very sustainable around here, so it does take about 600 pounds of corn to make only about 3 barrels of bourbon. We like to keep everything going in a very sustainable cycle. So we will take all of our leftover slop that's left inside of our still. It's been completely extracted of all the alcohol and all the heads. We'll put that outside the feeder tank out front. Local farmers then come and pick that up and use that to feed their farm animals. I call that slop tank out there Jolene because she gets all the sloppy seconds. But with that also being said,
great.
We will then sell all of our empty barrels for $150. We laser engrave the barrel heads. You can see all along that back wall. Those are sold for $120. And then we also break down some of our barrels and sell only the staves for only $8 as well. Very, very cool if you have a smoker or a Traeger at home. You know, you can get a wood chipper and that sort of thing, and then it's really, really good for smoking your meats and stuff as well. And then my very favorite part is the fact that I found out that we take all of our heads, we send that off to a company in Louisville, Kentucky. We add in a couple other additives, and then they actually use that as jet fuel. So we kind of make jet fuel with having, you know, uncut, unfiltered, high proofs, barrel proof, barrel strength around here, but we also do away with it and actually, you know, help everyone make the world go round. But yes.
Can you tell me the difference in taste between sour mash and sweet mash?
Yes. So sour mash is whenever you reuse the same yeast over and over and over again. Like each batch, like, you know, say we filled up this one and then we added in the yeast, then they would somehow save it and then use it again for the next cook. We do not do that. We just use brand new yeast, meaning that we open up the yeast, put it in the batch every single time. We're not actually saving any of that to reuse again. I don't exactly know if it gives you different flavors, like if it actually makes one more sour or one more sweet. I would assume that, you know, the yeast being reused over and over again with all the different batches, that would make it eventually more sour than, you know, a sweet mash being just using one yeast one time, let it do its thing, and then, you know. So I would say with it being fermented, that's probably why it gets sour.
That would honestly make sense, though, if you think about like things like sourdough bread and their starter. Like the longer you keep it, the same yeast.
Well, and that's what, you know, I was like, I mean, I don't really know, but we'll figure it out together.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yes. So this is the all-American white oak, just, you know, piece of wood. This is whenever they start to mold it into an actual stain. As you can see, it's a little more rounded, also a little more smooth. This one is your toasted, your first char, second char, third char, and then fourth char. So as you can see, between the 3 and the 4, they're very, very similar. One is just going to give you a little bit more flaky, a lot more actual char inside the barrel than the other, if that makes sense. And then this one right here beside it is actually just what is called scoring. Sorry. So then what they do with this is they go ahead and they char the entire stave or the entire barrel to the char level that they want. And then they will take them and score or cut out. And then what this does is this allows for more surface area inside of the actual barrel. We don't do any of this. We just do a pre-toast and then third or fourth right here. We just have it up here on display. That's why I was like, hey, let me show you that right there. Let me just wait until I have a tutor because it's much easier to explain when I have, models right here as well.
So,
yes.
random question. By increasing the surface area on the scored one, is that technically the highest char since there's more surface area for it to kind of get the flavor?
I'm
or
not sure if that's considered the highest char. I would say probably a 5th char is the highest char, but we're missing the 5th char as well.
Gotcha.
Malted barley. This one is 118 per kilo. Cheers, buddy.
Pretty good, right?
That's good. Yeah.
Pretty sweet.
Alright, so this is like a big old popper straw basically. We'll let these soak in there about 15 seconds and we each and every pull. So you're going to hold the bottle right down here beside the hole. Point your finger over the top after 15 seconds, you feel it getting heavier with the whiskey. Pull it out and to the side, into the bottle you go, and when you turn it up and let your finger go, it comes right out like a big straw, right? Alright, that's for you.
Exciting.
Alright, so would you like me to do this last slide? Or do you do it? That's so cool.
Right? That is really neat.
I'll pour a little bit off the top. That's the same.
Very cool.
Okay.
This was such an amazing distillery, I had to grab a second bottle to take home, because for now, Whiskey Thief is only available right here at the distillery. That exclusivity is part of what makes this place so special. Set on a working farm, this one-of-a-kind venue delivers an unforgettable tasting experience that easily ranks in my top 3 distillery tours of all time. If you're planning a trip along the Bourbon Trail, be sure to visit Whiskey Thief. It is an absolute must. Subscribe, guys, and never miss a pour. See you next time.